Curie, trailblazer. At a time when few women were scientists, one woman's research and discoveries changed the world. She left her homeland to study science and math. At a leading university, she followed her scientific interests, even though the world seemed to block her way at every turn. She was the first woman to be awarded a Nobel Prize, and the only person ever to award Nobel Prizes in two different scientific fields. This groundbreaking scientist was Marie Curie. Early years. Marie Curie was born in Maria Skolodowska on November 7, 1867. In Warsaw, Poland, she was called Mina as a child and was the youngest of the five children. Their father taught math and physics to boys in high school. When Mania was born, the part of the Poland where her family lived was ruled by the Russian Empire. Loyalty to Poland put people's life in danger. Mania's father lost his job in 1873 because he supported Polish independence. Mania's older sister died in 1876, and her mother died 2 years later. Mania was a bright, curious child, and was an outstanding student. She earned top honors when she graduated from high school at age 15 in 1883. Patience and preparation. Mania and her sister Bronya wanted to continue their studies, but women could not attend to the University of Warsaw. They would need to leave Poland, but did not have enough money. The sisters attended the Warsaw's floating university, free education offered in secret by Polish teachers. Although the classes were not much of the finest European universities, they kept Maya up to the date of scientific discoveries. Both sisters wanted to attend Sorbonne in Paris, but they could not afford the tuition. They made a deal. Manya would earn money for Bronya's education, and Bronya would return the favor after earning her degree. Manya worked as a tutor, the governess for 5 years and studied science, literature, and other subjects in her free time. After helping her sister pay for her schooling, it was Manya's turn to attend Paris at last. Manya moved to Paris in 1891 and enrolled at the Sorbonne. She took a name, Marie, the French version of Maria, at that time. 2 years later, she graduated first in her class with a master's degree in physics. In the following year, she earned the second master's in math. Mary received a commission to study the magnetic properties of steel. She needed a laboratory for research. Another scientist introduced her to a physics professor named Pierre Curie, who arranged Mary to use some lab space when he worked. Over time, Mary and Curie fell in love. They married in July 1895. 1905 and had a daughter, Irene. 2 years later, Marie was still very involved with her work. After finishing her research, she decided to earn a doctorate at Sorbonne. 2 types of rays. Marie needed a topic for doctoral research. 2 important physics discoveries had been made not long before. In late 1895, Wilhelm Roentgen, a German physicist, discovered X-rays. Early the following year, French physicist Henri Becquerel discovered that the chemical element uranium also gave off rays, which were weaker than X-rays. Marie decided to study uranium rays. Marie began to study the effects of uranium rays on air by measuring barely noticeable electric currents on air that had been blasted with uranium rays. Marie agreed with Becquerel that uranium in any form gave off electricity and that more uranium gave off stronger rays. She also demonstrated that the rays were a property of an uranium structure, not just in physical or chemical state. In addition, she discovered that another element, thorium, gave off rays as well. Marie kept testing materials to see which one gave off rays. She tested a mineral called pitchblende, which contains uranium. She found that it gave off more rays than could be caused by its uranium. She supposed pitchblende, which contained a second radioactive element, one the scientists didn't know about yet. In 1898, Pierre Curie joined Marie in searching for the new element. After much research, they discovered 2 new elements: polonium, named for Marie's homeland, and radium, for Latin word for ray. Pierre also proved that radium's radioactivity could harm living flesh. His discoveries opened the doors of treatments of cancer and other illnesses. Achievements and recognition. Marie earned her Doctor of Science in June 1903. She was the first woman in France to be awarded a doctorate and the first woman in all of Europe to be awarded a doctorate in science. Marie was the one to change of the physics research she and Pierre did. Even so, she was almost passed over the Nobel Prize, one of the world's most respected awards, but she was a woman. Only Pierre Curie and Henri Becquerel was nominated in 1903 Nobel Prize in Physics. When Pierre found out, he said it would be terribly unfair for Marie not to be included. Marie's name was then added to the list, and she and Pierre won together, along with Becquerel. In December 1903, they were recognized by the pioneering work of radiation radiation, the first Nobel Prize award to a woman. The curious and instantly became famous around the world. Curie was given a better job at the Sorbonne, and Marie received a salary and became a chief of laboratory. She was excited by the attention to new responsibilities, and the Curies had a second daughter, Eve, in 1904. Around the same time, the Sorbonne gave the Curies a new laboratory to work in. Dark times and more fame. The Curies were enjoying their success when tragedy struck. In 1906, Curie was run over a horse-drawn wagon and killed instantly. News of his death spread around the world. Mary was completely numb with shock, but eventually found the strength to keep going. She was given Curie's tech position at the Sorbonne. She was the first woman to become a Sorbonne professor. Mary was awarded a second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, in 1911 for her work in radioactivity and the discovery of radium and polonium. She was the first scientist to be awarded 2 Nobel Prizes. To this day, she's the only person to be awarded prizes in 2 different areas of science. On the battlefront, World War I broke out in late July 1914, and Germany attacked France just a few days later. Most of Marine's staff was left to fight in the war, and her scientific research had stopped. Mary looked for ways to put her science to work to help the war effort. She provided portable X-ray machines for treating soldiers on battlefields and set up more than 200 X-ray stations. She also learned how to use X-ray equipment and taught herself to drive so she could run an X-ray machine. She could run the X-ray machines herself. Later life, after World War I ended, Marie worked non-stop to turn the Sorbonne's Radium Institute into the world-class center of the radioactivity research. Marie's daughter Irene and her husband were awarded the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1935. Sadly, Marie didn't live long enough to celebrate with them. We know now that radioactive substances are dangerous, but that was not known during Mary's life. She died at the age 66 on July 4, 1934, from an illness often caused by being around radioactivity for a long time. Mary was buried near Curie in 1995. Their remains are removed to Pantheon in Paris, where France's most billion citizens are buried. Mary was the first and only woman to be buried there for her own achievements. Gift to the world. Marie Curie's work caused a huge shift in scientific understanding of atoms and led to new treatments in medicine. It also led to the discovery of radiocarbon dating, the way to learn the age of ancient life forms. Mary showed that careful scientific research and yield amazing breakthroughs. She also showed the world how to stay strong in the face of difficult obstacles. In her words, life is not easy. but any of us, for any of us. But what of that? We must have perseverance and above all confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this must be attained.